Okay, sorry, there we go. Okay, I'm live on YouTube now too. Oh, I might have to close those blinds. Anyway, okay, so where are you from? How old are your kids? And are you new here, new to my lives? I'll also be doing, I'm growing a lot on Instagram right now, so I'm also going to be doing lives over there. And I'll figure that out. I've got it all. I'm doing it Thursday nights at 5 Pacific time, my time, on Instagram. So I don't know how I'm going to manage that. But yeah, I've got to start going over there more too. Okay, Blue. Oh, have you got a sister, Green? Sorry, someone's name is Blue on there. I thought that was funny. Anyway, okay, so Sunshine 78. Were you born in 78? It's cute. I like that. Okay, so where are you from? How old are your kids? And are you new to my lives? You don't have to answer if you don't want to, but I'd love it if you would. It just kind of helps me out a little bit to know who's turning up. You should see my desk here. I got so much equipment going on here. I've got microphones, and I'm not a techie person, so this is all new to me. Okay, hey Bethany, where are you from? Bethany Whitechurch. Is that a place? Been here a few times. Excellent. Colleen Linney. Okay, well, let's just get going. No one wants to tell me where they're from, so I'll just get going. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on the link above, you can get my free behavior board, buy one of my toddler courses, buy my big boot camp course, and the next level up is coaching. That's one-on-one. It's all done on Zoom, so it doesn't matter where you're from. Bethany, you're from New South Wales. My son was born in Penrith, and my daughter was born in Brisbane. Okay, so because I raised my kids in Australia. I'm back here in Canada now. Ontario, 2 years old and 5 months old. Ooh, you're right in the stink of it all, aren't you? That's physical. I didn't mean to laugh at you. I've been there. So yeah, you're right in the physical time of parenting. It goes by so quickly. You know, you look back on that and you kind of want to rush things in a way, but yeah, you'll look back and you'll think, that was kind of fun. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, because most parents here are parents of toddlers, usually in my lives. In coaching, they're older kids, but in the lives, they're usually parents of toddlers. So I'm going to read out my 5 top tips for parenting toddlers before we even get going, because I might answer some of your questions. So number 1 is child-proof your home so you don't have to say no. It just makes your life a lot easier. Number 2 is set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Also makes your life easier. There's less toys to put away. Number 3 is when you want to connect with a toddler, you enter their world. You do that with all ages, but especially with toddlers, because language is not their language. It's all physical. It's all play. They learn the most through fun, and they also connect the most through fun. So have fun with them in their world. You don't connect with a 3-year-old at the nail salon. You go to the park and roll down the hill with them. Number 4 is when you're disciplining under 3, a toddler. It's not the mini therapy sessions discussing big feelings and all that. That's just garbage. That was I know it's trendy right now, but it was just invented to feed the mom's needs. It's not about the toddler at all. They're about actions. So you do consistent corrective actions right in the moment. When a toddler does something that you don't like, they learn through repetition. They won't learn the first time, maybe not even 50th or 100th time, but they will eventually learn. You got to be consistent though. They remember the one time you didn't do it. They just, I don't know why, but anyways, they just do. And then the last one is stop trying to figure them out. Toddlers are not figure-outable. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They're just forming. They've got one marble and some tumbleweed in here, okay? They're brand new. So don't try and figure them out. They might even go like this to smear poop on the wall, okay? To some toddlers, that's completely normal. So yeah, that's my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Whew. My 2-year-old's so strong-willed, I feel like I'm failing, constant tantrums through the day. Yeah, it's just going to take some time. Some of them are more strong-willed, but also child-proof your home and do the toy rotation system. Those 2 just tips will help you out a great detail. So you never have to say no. If your whole home is child-proof, what do you have to say no to? And if they've only got 5 toys out and you're rotating them, it's unlikely they're going to be bored, or they're less likely to be bored. So they're going to entertain themselves better. So they're going to be out of your hair and they'll just be easier, basically. Sydney, Australia. I've watched you for a while now. Excellent. Hello underscore mojo. Yeah, I landed in Sydney 1989, and 9 months to the day later, my son was born. I married an Australian, and 9 months to the day, my son was born out in Penrith. And then we moved up to Brisbane, and my daughter was born up there. So only spent a year and a bit. I arrived February 13th. And then we moved the next Easter. So just a year and a couple of months I was in Sydney. From the UK, hi Emma. Texas. Hi, Texas. I got to get to Texas. Sure am, LOL. That's Colleen. We got the little ones, the 2-month-old and a newborn. Yeah. 2-year-old and a newborn. Yeah, you're very busy. Just been kicked out of preschool. Yeah, it happens. Yeah, if you want my help with that, that's not really a TikTok answer. I don't know what kind of parent you are. It all boils down to your parenting. Although preschool is usually 4 years old or 3 years old. Depends. Like where I raised my kids, kindy was 3 years old, preschool was 4 years old, and grade one was 5 years old. So I don't know where you are, but yeah, you might want to hire me for that because there's usually quite a bit going on if they're getting kicked out. It's a little bit harder to deal with. Okay, that's what I'm saying. It's dealable. I mean, we can deal with all this stuff. It's just a little bit more going on. Any advice or tips? He possibly has ADHD. I learned all this with kids who had ADHD, WXYZ. I used to call them alphabet kids. And no one ever said to me, here, Lisa, here's an easy one. They always went like this. Here, good luck with this one. I was always handed the difficult kids. That's where I learned all this leadership stuff. That's all I teach is leadership. We're never fixing kids. We're fixing and teaching parents here. I was able to get respect with all kids. Didn't matter what they had going on. So it's your leadership is everything. It's everything up to about the age of 12. And then outside influences have a little bit more power, but not much. Quite minimal. If you're really close to your teenagers and they can tell you anything, they're not going to be susceptible to outside influences as much. What advice on speech delay for 2.5-year-old? Just wait it out. But then I'm not a speech pathologist, so I can't really give advice. But as a mother, I would just wait it out. A lot of kids aren't really talking much until they're 3. So, but if you're really concerned with the milestones, what they should be saying, how many words, what their vocabulary should be, I never worried about any of that because I had so much experience with kids. I knew they all developed at different stages. Those milestones are a general outline. You're not supposed to follow them to the T, okay? But I can't really say that because I'm not a doctor. If you're really concerned, go see a speech pathologist or a doctor, a pediatrician or something. Okay. Should I try behavior board with her? She's very smart. They have to be 3 years old to start the behavior board. But 3, not under 3. 2 and 11 months maybe, but 3 is when they can really start using it. So it's not like I'm going, okay, now they can really get it. It's when they can really start to get it is the way I put down. That was why I started at 3. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'm going to read. This is from, I can't read the name, but it's from, I just can't pronounce it. Someone on YouTube. We have 4-year-old twin boys and they yell to get things. How long do we need to ignore to see a change? They're 4 years old. You ignore yelling when they're under 3. But at 4 years old, I would say, if you want something, I would say this, if you want something, if you yell, I guarantee you won't get it. Okay, they can understand that. So just start following through with that theory. I remember with my kids when they were really little, I used to say, oh, I got goofy hair thing going on. Anyway, I don't know why that's bothering me. Anyway, I used to say to my kids, if we're out somewhere and if you ever ask for a treat, you'll never get it because that's not a treat. That's me feeling a demand. It's not a treat if it's expected and demanded. So they knew they never once ever asked for anything at the checkout. Not once, not ever. And then the odd time I'd just get them something and they were thrilled, you know. That's a treat. So they knew you got to be polite to get what you want. Yeah, but that's a bit of a tell. At 4 years old, that means that they would have got away with that. That's learned behavior. They would not be doing that at 3, at 4 years old if it hadn't worked in the past, guaranteed. So yeah, it's learned behavior. Say from now on, if you yell, you get nothing. You don't get what you want if you yell, guaranteed. And follow through. That's the hard part. Is it going to get better? Yeah, but is it going to get worse before it gets better? Oh yeah, it's going to get ugly. But you got to be willing to go through the storm to get to the rainbow. You can't avoid a scene. If you're afraid of a scene or a fit or a tantrum, your children are in charge. Wouldn't bother me at all. I'm like this, bring it on. Every scene is an opportunity for you to exercise your leadership. If you're afraid of them, they smell the fear and they go in for the kill. It's just the way it is. That's a slight exaggeration. You get my point. I don't invite anyone in on these lives, by the way, so don't ask. Yeah, people keep trying to get in on here, but you know, generally people just want my audience, right? Because I've got a pretty big audience on TikTok, and I've learned the hard way. I let someone in once, and they just talked about their business. I didn't see that one. How stupid was I? Anyway, I'm trying to sell to my audience. Are you kidding me? felt dirty. I had to have a shower after that. Made me feel all slimy. Ugh. Yeah, I don't do stuff like that. Okay. Okay, your 6-year-old does not. What are your tips on getting respect? My son is 6, doesn't respect any adults. Check out my boot camp course that teaches you how to get respect. If you don't want the course, but download my behavior board first anyway. Check that out. It's the first step in all this. You know, I always say in coaching, the first 30 minutes of the first session is me not with teenagers, it's different, but the first 30 minutes of the first session is us setting up the behavior board together. While we're doing that, I learn a lot from you. The second half hour of the session is me teaching you how to make it happen. Because it's one thing to set up a behavior board, but if you're going through some real challenges or really unsure of yourself, making that behavior board work is the hard part. But that's why you make it, if you're doing it all by yourself without me, without coaching, make it easy. Do something really easy. You want to set yourself up for success. Don't handle the big stuff first. You practice on the small stuff. Master that, and then you move on to the big stuff. Once the kids realize, hey, wait a minute, they actually know what they're doing. By the third week, the third behavior board, then you can handle more big stuff, bigger rules. Yeah, if your son doesn't respect you, you got to work on your leadership skills. That's all I teach here. Okay, that's all I'm talking about here. Discipline's a tiny part of it, but it really is about connecting and bonding with your kids and letting them know that, hey, I know how to deal with bad behavior, but I'm focusing on the good kid here. That's a really good leader, makes kids feel good about themselves. And you do that by guiding them into making good choices. Like I never really told my kids what to do. All throughout their lives, I never did. And people couldn't figure out why they were so polite. It's because I never told them what to do. I guided them to make good choices. There's a big difference there. Leaders inspire. They don't demand or command. Leaders inspire good choices. Gee, I'm going to write that one up. That was a good one. Sorry, every so often I say something smart. I got to write it down because it happens so rarely. Leaders inspire kids to make good choices. Yeah, that was good. Okay, I like that one. Good way of wording it. 2.5-year-old hates when I pick him up from daycare, throws himself on the ground. What should I do? Just pick him up and go home. Like pick him up, put him in the car, snap him in, still ignore him though. Don't talk to him or look at him. It's always best to ignore a tantrum. Always, always, always. You ignore the crazy, reward the calm. I might tell the swing story here. It explains a good way to deal with a tantrum by ignoring and the other way. But anyway, I don't feel like telling it right now. How do I go about screaming and hitting at 3 years old? So I do have a course on toddlers who hit and bite, etc. You might want to check that out. Yeah. You can never address screaming, but you can use the behavior board too. If they're 3 years old, you can start with the behavior board and you put down no hitting. And that's their rule. If they hit, whoever they hit, they have to do something nice for. If they won't do that, then they get 24-hour media blackout. But yeah. So check it out. The behavior board kind of explains how to, well, it explains how to do that. Boy, I get some flack over ignoring tantrums. That's why I keep talking about it. You know I love it when people come after me because that means I'm shaking things up. That means I'm making a difference. You have to ignore a tantrum because if you don't, they will grow in intensity, duration, and frequency. They just will because you're feeding it. Any attention is tantrum food. If you feel that by ignoring your child during a tantrum, if you feel you're damaging them, you got bigger fish to fry. You got a lot more things to worry about. Ignoring a tantrum is not going to damage a child who knows they're loved. It just isn't. They're going to learn, wait a minute, this isn't the way to go about life. That's what they're learning. By the way, a lot of those people who came after me, I've been on here now for 1.5 years, they've hired me for coaching. So yeah, you watch long enough, it'll make sense. How do I know that they're the same people? Because they told me. They said, I was the one who said this about you. I'm the one who said that about you online. I'm like, oh, okay. I don't really read that stuff. I don't care. But yeah. I got a lot of experience with kids. Okay, your 2-year-old started slapping you. Check out my toddlers who hit, bite, etc. That's in the link above. It's my mini toddler course. I have 4 of them now. The bedtime battles just came out last week. It was brand new. People are still asking about that coupon. That coupon, when I launched the program, like I think it was a week or 2 ago now, maybe. It was only for 24 hours. So there's no coupon for any. They're just really like, they're not expensive little courses, the toddler ones. So, but anyway. By the way, don't talk about your feelings with a 2-year-old who's hitting you. They don't give a crap. They're not listening. They're all about consistent corrective actions. It's all these talking about feelings that's just, it's confusing to them. They're like, what are you doing? You're giving me a therapy session? I'm only 2 years old. Okay, they don't think that, but that's what I would be thinking for them. Doesn't make any sense at all. Like one mom who hired me said, he's 2 years old and I told him it hurts my feelings and he still kept biting me. And I'm like, right. So would I if I was 2 and you just talked about your feelings. It doesn't make any sense at all. He's 2. Okay. Okay, teeth brushing. 3-year-old puts up a fight every time for teeth brushing. At 3, under 3, I do it differently. But at 3, I would say, brush your teeth within 10 minutes of being asked to do so. If they don't, then there's a consequence, okay? Let's say they have to brush their teeth right after dinner, okay? And then they want to watch the iPad or something. They have to earn that iPad. So there's a few different ways of doing it. But I would make them earn it. I'd say, sure, you can look at the iPad as soon as you brushed your teeth. That kind of thing. I use the as soon as method a lot. Oh, you asked me a question that's not answerable. Nobody knows the answer to this. When kids yell for about 20 minutes, it feels like it might have long-term effect. Would it have a long-term negative effect? No one knows that answer. I don't know. Gut reaction is no. It's usually more upsetting for you than it is for them. Might mess you up for the rest of your life, but they're going to forget all about it. That's my gut reaction. Oh, under 3, teeth brushing. Okay, what I do for them is I say, okay, we're going to brush your teeth now. Here's your very favorite show. Here's the iPad. If you're brushing your teeth, you can watch that show. If you're not brushing your teeth, you can't. So it's an incentive. They can only see that favorite show that they absolutely love while they're brushing their teeth. As soon as they stop, it goes off. Like, you got to be quick with this, okay? You got to be really on your game when you're teaching toddlers, because it can't be like a minute later. It has to be right in the moment. Brush your teeth, here's your show. They stop, show goes off. Brush your teeth, here's your show. That's how they learn. It's very fast. You got to be right on the ball. You got to be on top of it. When kids are brainwashed to alienate me, I don't know what you mean by that. If that's like an ex situation, split home, that kind of thing, you'd have to hire me for that. I'd have to help you through that. That's coaching. So check out the link above. Everything I have to offer in my business is in the link above. Thank you. I love your advice. I used to talk about feelings, but it never worked. Exactly. Good morning, watching from the Philippines. Hello, Rosanne. Is that name familiar? Philippines. I've had a few people from the Philippines. Welcome. Welcome. I've never been there. I'll probably get everywhere one day. Picking boogers, 3 years old. Yeah, just say no picking your nose, except it's like going to the bathroom. It's private. You do it when you're sitting on the toilet or something, or you use a Kleenex to do it, and just try and teach them, but don't shame them with that. You never shame them with body stuff. You just say, okay, so there's nothing wrong with picking your nose, but you do it while you're sitting going to the potty, or it's private, okay? Something like that. And good luck with that. Takes a while. Your behavior board has made such an improvement. Tackled one thing at a time, and now no board needed. Okay, I gave you the tool, but you did the work. Good for you, Paige. Okay, this stuff just works. I've been doing it forever. Oh, by the way, you said always offer a napkin or a wipe, but he freaks. Yeah, you got to work with that. You know, I can't. I don't know what kind of parent you are. Like, I'd work on my leadership skills before. Like, if you were to present that and you were a real leader, they would take it. So I'm suggesting you're not a leader yet. So work on your leadership skills. And when you offered a napkin or something, then they would take it. They just would. Their behavior completely switches when you're a leader, just completely. Okay. 11-year-old being defined at school, not taking ownership and blaming peers. What do you mean by defined at school? I would need to know what's going on there. That almost sounds like a coaching issue. I would have to assess the situation and find out what's going on. Defiant, that doesn't make much sense, not taking ownership. Defiant is kind of a contradiction between not taking ownership and blaming peers. That's an unaccountability, and the other one is stubbornness. So I don't know what's going, they're kind of different things. So I don't know what's going on there. If you want my help with that, to really look into it and figure it out, you want to hire me. That would be minimum 3 sessions for that. So check out the thing about, I can't assess that without asking a lot of questions. What age to start the behavior board? It starts at the age of 3. That's when they can stop and think before they act. They won't all do it, It'll take a while, but they have the ability to stop and think before they act. Under that age, they just act. They don't even think after. They don't even think during or after. They just act. They're all about physicality when they're little. My 2.5-year-old screams back at me after I tell him to finish eating. Should I ignore it? Why are you telling him to finish eating? I don't understand that. I don't know. I have too many questions. Like there could be a million different reasons for that. So I can't assess that. Not respecting teachers. Okay, the 11-year-old. Okay, not respecting teachers. Okay, here's the thing. If you're a leader at home, that would never happen at school, never, ever in a million years, ever. It just wouldn't. If they have a respectful parent, unless there's something going on at school, that's something going on, but I'm assuming there isn't, or else you would have mentioned that. So yeah, I'm saying maybe they're used to getting their own way at home and you cater to them. Are you the pleaser parent? Then they go to school and they're not catering to them, so your child's entitled. Sort of sounds like that to me. So set yourself up as a leader, and that will not happen. It just wouldn't. You know why? Well, not just because of this, but my kids would have been embarrassed to face me if they'd been rude to someone else, because they would have had to have explained that to me, and I was the leader. They would have been embarrassed. So yeah, it just doesn't happen that way. And remember, we're never fixing kids here. We are fixing and teaching parents, because your children's behavior up till about the age of 12, 13 is 100% a direct result of your parenting, 100%. So if they're acting out or doing something, you got to look in the mirror and fix yourself up, learn how to be a leader. And then that other stuff, it just doesn't happen. Because when they look up to you, you're like a mentor. They look up to you. Your opinion matters to them a great deal. So they just wouldn't act out anywhere because they respect themselves. And a child who's defiant and rude to other people, their self-esteem's in the toilet. And that's usually only a result of not having a leader as a parent. When you're a leader, they have very high self-esteem. They think very highly of themselves when you're a leader. I don't know why I keep making a cup of tea when I'm doing a live. I'm trying to drink it before it goes cold. Oh, ADHD can affect it might make it a little bit harder, but I learned all this on kids predominantly with ADHD, because those were the kids that I was asked to work with. No one ever asked me to work with an easy kid. It was always, good luck with this one, Lisa. Those were all the kids I learned this on. They need it more than anybody. Whenever I was handed a particularly feisty kid and they said, good luck with this one, Lisa, no one's able to work with him, blah, 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 I knew that would be the quickest one for me to get respect from. You know why? Because a child who's really acting out, really difficult, they are screaming for discipline and leadership. And when they finally come up against a calm leader, they almost go like this, finally. Like that's what they've needed all along. They need that more than any other kid does. So yeah, their impulse control can be a real issue. So that's why they need you to guide them. They need a leader to guide them. 21-month-old boy throws food while eating. What can I do? You just pick up the food, throw it in the garbage, and then hand feed the rest of the meal. Do not let them touch food for the rest of that sitting. That's what you do. It's going to be ugly. They probably won't eat anything for the rest of that sitting, and that's okay. They'll survive. I don't think they die of starvation by going for maybe a couple hours without eating. You can give them a healthy snack later on. But yeah, there's no way they would have food in their hand. I would say no, throw it in the garbage, and then hand feed them. No way they'd get to touch food. No, probably won't even eat it. That's okay. Don't worry about that. You lead, they will eventually follow. And I always say you lead, they will follow. I should add the word in, they will eventually follow. The first time they're going to kick up a storm because they're used to being in charge. If you weren't a leader yesterday and all of a sudden you try and be a leader today, they're going to fight you. It's going to get worse before it gets better. It's worth it though. What she's saying is important and applies to more than 4 raising your children. Oh, okay. It's just common sense stuff, right? There's 2 things that you could apply to adults too, is if you want to get respect and someone to treat you well, make them feel good about themselves. It's really easy. When someone makes you feel good about yourself, don't you treat them like gold? The other one is teaching how to apologize. Adults can learn this. Those are 2 things I talk about that can apply to adults too. The 4 steps to apologizing are: number 1, say you're sorry. I don't really care about that empty. It's usually just an empty word. But anyways, it starts the ball rolling. People want to hear it. I don't care about it. But anyway, I'm sorry. It was all my fault. Wasn't your fault. So you don't say it was all. I wouldn't have yelled if you hadn't done that. Don't turn it around on the other person. So say, sorry. It was all my fault. I shouldn't have done that. The third one is, what can I do to make it up to you? You make amends. The fourth one is, don't do it again. If you keep doing the same mistake and same sugar. Oh, I got a client thing coming up soon. Shoot, I got to set another alarm. Just a sec. Sorry about that. I've just got to set an alarm. Alexa, set 45-minute timer. I have a client appointment.
Minutes, starting now.
Sorry. What was I just talking about? Apologizing? Was that it? Doesn't matter. You cut out the fourth. Oh, the fourth one. The fourth one is, don't keep doing it again. So you say, I'm sorry, it was all my fault. What can I do to make it up to you? Because you want to make amends, and then don't keep doing it. The word sorry is so overused. I don't know who came up with this. It's all this entitled. No one's accountable anymore. Say you're sorry, and then if the person doesn't say right away, that's okay. I never say that. If someone's done me wrong and they say sorry, I never say that's okay. Never. I always just say, okay. I'm waiting for the rest. I shouldn't have done that. What can I do to make it up to you? I'm waiting for the whole apology. No one's been taught how to do this. Why not? One word, sorry. You can do anything you want. You can kill the whole family. I said I was sorry. It's this word sorry. It's like this entitled, just all I have to do is say one little word and nothing matters. I'm out of the clear. If they don't forgive me, it's all on them. It's their fault. It's this lack of accountability. I know it's trendy. I know. I get it. And being a victim, it's very trendy right now. It's all a result of this please your parent style. All of this. Being a victim, the cancel culture. You looked at me the wrong way. I'm going to kill you and your whole family now. I'm going to cancel you all. It's all this victim, this, heaven forbid you should look at someone the wrong way. They're going to take you to court. I mean, it's just ridiculous. So it all comes from that please your parent style. I saw it coming a mile away. 30 years ago, I saw this coming. I knew exactly what was going to happen. Am I rubbing it in? No, I wish it never happened. It's frustrating me. Okay. Can you repeat it? It was glitching. Okay, I'll repeat the whole apology. That was probably an old question, so you probably already heard it. 4 steps to apologizing. Say sorry. That's number 1. Number 2 is take full accountability. Say it was all my fault. I shouldn't have done it. Don't blame them for it. And then the third one is make amends. Say, what can I do to make it up to you? The fourth one is don't do it again. If you keep doing the same thing over and over again, then your apology meant squat. Okay. Tips on how to be productive on 24-hour media shutdown. I don't quite know what you mean by that, but I'll just get my own interpretation here. So when you've got 24-hour media blackout, if your kids have been punished, that's a secondary consequence. If they won't do the first positive action, you resort to the negative deprivation. It's not always media blackout. Not all families have a lot of screens, right? You take something away is the whole idea. So usually it's 24-hour media blackout. So anyway, what do? You have to ask about being productive. So I'll just sort of interpret that my own way. So what do you do with the kid who has 24-hour media blackout? You do it with them. The other siblings can go in your master bedroom with smaller screens. They're usually quite happy to do that. If the whole family, it's a family affair. They are going to be inconvenienced slightly by going into your room with a little screen, but they're usually quite happy to do that because their sibling doesn't get any screens. I have another level to that. If they rub it in, then they're punished too. But anyway, I don't get into that here because parents can often misuse that one. But yeah, if you rub it in and say, you don't get any screens, then you get 24-hour media blackout too. As they get older, I do stuff like that. But I don't like to talk about that on here because you might misuse that one. Got to be careful with that one. Anyway, so then when they've got 24-hour media blackout, you say something like this. Okay, you got no screens for 24 hours. I'm going to do this with you. How about we play a game? No, I hate you. I hate you. Okay, fine. Then walk away as soon as they calm down. How about that game now? You keep coming at them, trying to bond and connect with them. Eventually they'll give in because they want to play hide and seek. They want to play a board game with you. They're bored, right? How about we read a book? How about we go to the park? Whatever. So you keep trying to engage with them. And it's also a connecting thing. You can connect with your kids this way. Like some parents say, well, why can't I go on screens? I didn't do anything wrong. I said, are you kidding me? So your kids got 24-hour media blackout. Rather than use that time to bond with them, you want to sit on your phone like this. Woohoo, this is fun. Like you do it with them. Three-year-old will not go to bed on her own. Okay, I've got a whole course on that. The reason why I don't like to talk about bedtime battles, generally, you'll see my courses are things I don't want to talk about on here because they're a whole process and I get asked every single day. So I've made a mini course. It's on bedtime battles if you're interested because it is a process. It's step by step by step. There's two parts, how to get them in bed, then how to keep them in bed. Some parents only have problems with one or the other. Some have problems with both. So check out the mini course. Like I said, it's such a big process. I don't want to go through it. It's like mealtime battles. That's another big process. I'm going to get a course for that too. But anyway. Well, you gotta, if you've huge issue in our lives, he reacts with anger over any emotion. I don't know how old he is. Is he 2 or 16? I don't know. It makes a big difference. And generally, my general response is probably going to be the same anyway. Emotions tend to calm down when you've got a leader. When you feel safe, secure, and you know what's coming, your life is more predictable, you've got routines, structure in your life, you tend to calm down. So kids who have wild emotions up and down generally don't have a leader as a parent. They usually have a pleaser as a parent. The old-fashioned authority style parent also calms them down. And then they hit the teen years and they rebel, but they come out of it stronger for it and appreciating you. If you're the new style pleaser parent, they never appreciate you. They treat you like a dish rag. They wipe their feet all over you and they never respect you. They're going to be 45 years old still asking you to pay for their cell phone. You know, I mean, they're just, yeah, it's no good. Oh, the school morning routine. Yeah, someone asked, they said, I just bought your bedtime battles course. Do you have a school morning routine? A morning routine before school. Yeah, I'm going to have that. I'm going to have mealtime routine and school morning routine. Those are my next two courses coming up. So it's just when I get around to doing it. I don't like doing courses because I don't like writing. That's why I don't get to them very, very quickly. I don't like writing. Just being honest. I'd rather talk. And I have done courses in the past where they're all videos and then people complain about that too. So writing, they're all writing right now. I think I've got one little video in my boot camp course. I'm pretty sure I put one in there because it's a story I wanted to tell and it's only good if I talk. So I probably should add more videos into my courses one day and I will. It's just a matter of time. I'm really busy these days. Okay. But I will be doing a school morning routine course soon, hopefully. What's cons? Cons to what? What's the first part of your comment? I'm going to go backwards here, Leanne. I'm looking, but I get dizzy when I go backwards. I'm old. I've got like vertigo. That's why old people fall. It's not because they're so physically feeble, but our brains, our balance is off. You lose your balance when you get older. It's all those crystals in your inner ear loosen. I learned that the hard way. I can't have a shower and close my eyes. I have to have my foot braced against the side so I know where I am. I can't stand up with my eyes closed. I'll fall over. Isn't that weird? I'm 63. Yeah. Okay. How do you feel about co-sleeping? I have no opinion whatsoever about that. It's like breastfeeding till they're 8. I have no opinion about that. That's your own personal choice. If it works for everybody, then do it. You know. What consequences do parents usually get? Okay, let's say you've got a 5-year-old kid and you yell. Your rule is always no yelling if you're a yeller. All parents yell, by the way. By the time, if they don't know how to be a leader, that's why you're here, and they all yell. So that's what we have to teach them out of. So your rule is no yelling. If you yell at them, you have to play hide and seek with them for 10 minutes. You use that time to bond with them. Do something fun for them. You did something mean to them by yelling. Now do something nice for them. Play hide and seek or something like that. Something they love. How can I become more of a leader to my 2-year-old son? Okay, I wrote that down. I have my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. And tip number 3 is how to connect with your toddler. And I said, when you want to connect with your toddler, you enter their world. You play on their level. You don't even sit up tall and play Lego or blocks or whatever. You lay down the floor at their level or under their level. My kids used to play on top of me. I was like the mountain and they'd drive their cars over me and everything. So I was very much... they tend to look at you differently. It's a way of connecting. It's kind of the start of leadership. Plus, they learned very quickly at a very young age. When I said something, it was going to happen. They also learned when Dad said something, it probably wasn't going to happen. So he was the pleaser, I was the leader. There usually is a pleaser and a leader in the family. And there's nothing wrong with that. Then as the kids got older, and then when they would push him around, he would just say, do you want me to tell Mom? And they go, never mind. So he would use me as leverage. So as long as you're on the same page, you don't have to have the same style. They only need one really good leader. Yeah. How to handle a toddler that won't sit down while eating. That's my mealtime battles course. I will have one out. Generally, they don't eat unless they're sitting down. That's it. Food gets taken away. At 2 years old, my kids were still in a high chair until they were 16, I think. I kept them in a high chair and in a stroller and in that grocery shopping cart as long as possible. So yeah, they don't eat if they're not sitting down, period. At 2 years old, they should be in a high chair, though. They should be strapped in. Is there a one question limit here? Well, I haven't got a clue because I don't know who's asking anything. So you can ask away. I don't have a clue. You think I'm organized with this? Thanks for that vote of confidence. I don't have a clue who's asking what, when, where. So yeah, go ahead and ask as many as you want. But what I do is I do tend to try and mix up the questions. So if I get a lot of the same questions of the same ages, like if someone throws in I specialize in teenagers, they're my favorite age. If someone throws in a teenage question, I'm going right to that one. I try and mix up the ages. Most people have little ones on my lives. I've found that out. But yeah, so I just try and mix it up. That's all. Oh, okay. Sorry, it was just a YouTube question. How can you be a leader to a 3-year-old nonverbal child? Well, okay. Nonverbal child. I don't know why they're nonverbal. That would help me to know that. Are they autistic or, and if they are autistic, then that's coaching. I can't give you general advice about autism here on my TikToks. That's one-on-one coaching. You'd have to hire me for that. But if they're just not talking a lot, they still understand what you're saying. So it's all the same stuff, right? What do you think about kids and cell phones? Well, they're here to stay. But okay, that's a really big question. And the reason why I don't like to answer it is because I've done a lot of this. I used to do a lot of media work on TV, and they always want to know about that. What about kids and cell phones? What about? It's a speech. That would be a TED talk. I did a TED talk once years ago. That would be a TED talk. I would have to go into too many things to talk about. So I don't really want to answer that here. It's too long and drawn out. Yeah. But if you think that you can protect them from anything on the internet, good luck with that. If they don't see it on their phone, they're going to see it on their classmates' phones. They're going to see everything. So it's best to talk to them about everything. So this is the nonverbal. She was diagnosed with a genetic defect. Okay, that's more of a specialty. You'd have to hire me for that. I can't give you a general answer to that. You understand that, right? I'd have to assess the situation, the history, what exactly are her limitations, how's she doing in school or preschool or kindy, daycare, whatever. I'd have to assess that before I could give you any responsible answers, right? The TikTok's just kind of general, quick stuff. But yeah, if you want my help with that, you'd have to hire me for coaching. That's in the link above. Everything I have in my business is in the link above. How to deal with toddler that cry until mom picks them up. Look like you're right in the middle of something and they're crying and go, okay, I'll be there in a second, and just get real busy doing something. They usually get bored and move on. If you're like, yeah, okay, I'm coming, sweetie, and then I'm just going to do this dish, move real slow, and they just kind of get bored usually. If not, it's a different answer, but that's what I would do. I'm just going to read out something, a little bit of a lull in the questions here. So it's always my opportunity to throw something in here. I'm just going to go into my 4 stages of parenting. Now, this is not about the kids. This is about you. It's reflective of their ages. You go through 4 very distinct stages of parenting through your child's life. The first one is when they were a baby, 0 to 15 months. It's all loving, nurturing, picking them up, cuddling them constantly. Not a lot of lessons going on, not a lot of teaching going on at that point. Then you go into the toddler years. All of a sudden, you're in teaching mode. You're setting yourself up as a leader more now. That is toddlers 16 to 35 months. So now you're teaching them right from wrong. They can understand it. It's all about consistent corrective actions, and you're cementing your leadership. They're starting to understand, hey, wait a minute. You know what you're doing. You're a leader. When you say something that happens, you know what you're doing, okay? Now you go into the 3rd stage. This is your the most intensive leadership phase, 3 to 12 years old. They are learning a lot out there in that world, and you want to be the leader at home. This is when you are at your leadership peak, 3 to 12 years old. Yes, they are very different, but your parenting style is the same. You're very much the leader. Then all of a sudden they're teenagers, 13 plus, you back off a bit, let them make more mistakes, you negotiate things, and you want them to sort of take over leadership more. You don't want them to be, my son once said, he was 15 and he says, I could never rebel because you were too reasonable and easy to talk to. You bet I was. There's nothing to rebel against when you're a good leader, when you've got teenagers, but you back off a bit and you negotiate pretty much everything. It's a lot of respect back and forth at any age, but especially in the teen years, you got to let them make some mistakes. Don't sweat the small stuff, just save your energy for the big stuff. And then there won't be any big stuff though. If you're a good leader, there isn't any big stuff with teenagers. So those are the 4 stages of, all nurturing, bit of teaching, full leadership, and then back it off. The biggest problem parents have is backing off in the teen years. That's what causes the resentment and the rebellion, because parents don't back off. They're still trying to tell their kids everything and what to do, and they're trying to raise mini me's. You don't do that. You want them to be mini thems. You don't want them to be carbon copies of you. That's ridiculous. I wouldn't want another me. I'm goofy. I wouldn't want another goofball in the house. So I wanted my kids to be themselves. But you're guiding them into making good choices that suit them and their lives. My son one of his classmates once said to him, I don't know, 16 or something, and he says, would you ever break the law? And my son said, are you kidding me? I'd be terrified my mom would get to me before the police could. And I never even did anything. It was just, he couldn't have handled my disappointment. Okay, that's respect. Do you believe too much screen time is bad for kids? I don't know. What's too much? Nobody can answer that. They can guess, but nobody can really, there's no scientific study on that. It hasn't been around long enough. You'd have to study it like for 100 years to figure out exactly how much is safe, how much isn't. Plus everyone's different. We're all different. Some kids might be more damaged by it than others, and depend. One thing I don't like is violent fighting games. Anything violent with guns or anything, obviously I don't like that. But yeah. But no one can answer that. Not responsibly. Bit of a lull. I don't usually get a lull. I'll read something else, one of my other notes. Now I'm bored with all this. All my same stories. I'm bored with that. I don't feel like telling that. This one is, I was going to do a video on this. I'm not too sure how to word it. But I've had it here for a while, ideas for videos, and I just don't know how I'm going to word this one. What I wrote to myself in a video idea is, it's unfair to send unlikable kids out into the world. It's unfair to them and everyone who meets them. It's not very nice to send disruptive children out into the world that are misbehaving, because then teachers are going to hate them, other kids are going to hate them. Like, you're not doing them any favor by giving into them at home. So I don't quite know how to word that though. Oh, I use your calm leadership tips on my employees. Works every time. It works with everybody. It just does. If you show anger, you're going to build defensiveness, and you're not a leader. Leaders aren't angry. When you're disciplining or laying down the law or pointing out an error, you just say, oh, okay, that was an error there. What should we do to fix that up? Okay, that's good. Okay. You see, you're always like the encouraging. Okay. Oh, teenager. I love teenagers. They're my favorite age. What's your opinion on 14-year-old teen? She wants a boyfriend, and I don't think she's old enough. Oh, good luck with that one. I would never stop a teenager from having a boyfriend or a girlfriend. They're going to sneak behind your back, or they're going to resent you. You don't want either of those. But you can have some rules around that, and you got to be careful with this. I don't know what your situation is like, but I would have some rules. You always have to know where they are when they go out together. She's 14. Let me think. Depends on the maturity and how old is the boyfriend. Is he 14 or is he 17? You know what I'm saying? Like it's so there's too many variables to give you a really good answer, but I'll say this. Let's say they're 12, 13, and they decide they want to have a boyfriend. I'd say, sure, of course you can. I'm not going to stop that. But here's the rules. This is 12 and 13. 14 is getting a little bit more fuzzy in there. So I would say you can't go to any movies. I've known teenagers who've gotten pregnant in movies, by the way. They're very dark. And so no movies. And when they go out, they have to go out with groups, and it can't all be couples. They're all going to couple off. Okay. It has to be singles too. It has to be other kids anyway. So that, and that you have to be driven somewhere by a parent. And I have to know that parent, and I have to know where you are. So those are the rules. Plus, you make sure you befriend that boyfriend. If she's got a boyfriend, you invite him over every night for dinner, get to know him, blah, blah, blah. Be friendly, never show your disapproval, or you'll drive her right into his bed. You just will. Don't show disapproval. Be very careful with that. It's hard to do, because if you see, and sometimes we all slip up sometimes, but yeah, it never works. My son gets very moody after a couple hours of screen time. Well, he's probably looking at violent games, right? Guitar Hero doesn't tend to make them moody. But those shoot 'em up games and that tends to make them more moody. There's a lot of negativity in those games. So yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Okay, yeah, I got a really good tip for that. Any tips for toddlers running away from you in public? Yeah, I'm going to read out first of all. There's 4 annoying traits that kids are either born to do or they'll never do them. One is tantrums, obviously. One is aggressiveness. They'll either hit other kids or they never will. Another one is climbing. That's probably the worst. It's probably the most dangerous. They're either going to be climbers or they're not. And then the last one is runners. They're the kids that run and they don't look behind looking for you. Put them on a leash, a tether, a harness. Put a harness on them before you go out. As soon as they take off on you, clip them in and keep them clipped in for the rest of that outing. Is it going to be hell? Yes. Are they going to start to learn their lesson? Yes. They'll start connecting the dots. Wait a minute, if I run, I get clipped in. So yeah. And this stuff's not easy. It's not supposed to be. Getting respect is hard work. It's a lot of work, but once you've got it, it's a piece of cake. Maintaining it's easy. Getting it is hard work. I had a client who couldn't find her 18-month-old little girl. She was freaking out. She almost called the police. Anyway, then she heard giggling. She was in the kitchen, looked up, and her toddler, 18 months old, was on top of the fridge. She had used her little toes to get up the little drawers, because even though they were childproof, she could still open them just enough to get her little bare toes on there. She climbed up to the counter on top of the bread machine and then on top of the fridge. And she was there for like half hour to an hour. The mother couldn't find her. She was freaking out. So yeah, climbers are probably the scariest. So you just childproof your whole house. Put a bell on everything they use to climb. Put away chairs. Put them on top of tables. Do whatever you got to do to prevent the climbing. That's a dangerous one. Well, you asked about a young, sneaky child who's stealing. How old, though? Like, how old are they? I would put down no stealing. I would just say it like it is. And then every time you catch them stealing, there has to be a consequence for that. So, yeah. Plus, now, there's usually something behind that. They usually feel deprived in some way or frustrated. There's usually a reason behind stealing. It's not something they generally are born to do. Although I did meet a psychopath once. I'm not saying your child's a psychopath, but sometimes they are born wrong, but it's very rare. But I actually met a little girl who was a psychopath. She scared the hell out of me. I did one session with her and I never worked with her again. She scared the hell out of me. And she ended up institutionalized. She was, there's a word for what she was. She wasn't just a psychopath. She was very dangerous. And she was tiny little, gorgeous little thing. But yeah, she was, it's the only time I've ever not been able to work with a kid. And it was quite upsetting, actually. And then I found out she was institutionalized, so I didn't blame myself for it. And I just felt really bad for her. But yeah, that is extremely rare. I mean, out of hundreds of kids I've worked with, that's the only one that had something like that. 2-year-old is a picky eater. I get so frustrated. Will this pass? Not necessarily. My son was a picky eater till he was a teenager. So I just knew what he liked to eat and I cooked around that. But I did make him try everything. I said, you have to try everything. But then he didn't have to eat it. But he was never stubborn about it because I didn't push it. But I knew what he liked. Plus, I was a health food fanatic, so we never had any junk in the house. If they didn't like their vegetables, there was no ice cream waiting for them in the fridge. Like, we didn't have junk food in the house. So, yeah, they just learned to eat super healthy, but it was a very limited diet. But it was all healthy. No one wants to do that. And some people will even say to me, because I'm a gluten-free health food vegan and I'm very into health, and people say, oh, I like to enjoy life. And I thought, yeah, I enjoy life too. I don't have to eat potato chips to enjoy life. Like, so it's almost like I'm criticized for being so healthy. I'm not saying anyone should be like this, but it was my choice and my kids didn't know any different. My daughter was a holistic nutritionist. She's gone on to other things now, but she's super into healthy food too. So, and I know that's because of the way she was raised. My son's he's not as healthy of an eater, but he's very conscious of it. And we'll see how he raises. He's expecting a little girl soon. We'll see how he raises her. None of my business. I'll just sit back and watch. I get asked that a lot. As a grandmother, are you going to tell your kids how to raise their kids? It's none of my business. Why would I do that? I never told a friend how. I never give unsolicited advice. And I never tell my kids what to do anyway. I'm not that type. Yeah, what kind of mother would I be if I did that to my kids? Yeah, I'll just sit back and watch the show. None of my business. But when they drop the kids off at grandma's rules. That's the way it works. If you trust the person enough to babysit your kids, it's their rules. Okay, just had my second baby and my three-year-old has been very defiant. Is this normal? Yeah, for two reasons. Bring a new baby in. How can they possibly understand what's coming at them? You know, they see the new baby in the hospital, oh, it's so cute. And you're going, oh my God, what a wonderful big brother or big sister. Then they get them home and they chuck the baby on the floor. It's like, oh, you mean this thing's coming home? Stinks, it's loud, it's taking my mommy and daddy away from me. So it could just be that it's an adjustment period. Just keep the baby safe, okay? Make sure they can't get to the baby if they are inclined to throw them on the floor, which happens. Anyway, and then the other reason could be that you're not a leader. And at 3 years old, if you haven't been a leader, went through the 2 and all that, at 3, they find their power. At 3 years old, that's when they can stop and think before they act. They also can find their power at 3. They'll go, wait a minute, there's no leader here. I think I'll do it. So that it could be either one, but then it could be both, a combination of both. That's so sad. He's nothing like that. LOL, just didn't want to. Yeah, I know. No, I know he's nothing like that. Was very rare. What I'm saying though is that everything's fixable except that one. I've worked with hundreds of kids. That was not fixable. So everything else, you know how many kids I've worked with? Like hundreds of them. It's all fixable. They can all follow a leader. Okay. That was the only one. It still bothers me. That was like 30 years ago. It still bothers me when I think about it. Nothing I could have done. Okay. Oops. I got so much stuff going on behind the scenes I wish I could talk about. Can't quite yet. But anyway, one thing that I am going to be doing is if you're following me on Instagram, I'm growing quite rapidly on there right now. So I'm going to be doing lives every Thursday at 5 p.m. Vancouver time, every Thursday night. So tomorrow night I'll be on Instagram instead of TikTok, and I'm always backing it up on YouTube because that's where these lives are saved. They're saved on YouTube. So I'll be doing my regular Tuesday and Saturday. They're labeled above in the link above. Here on lives. The rest of the lives, I never know when I'm turning up. Like today, I never know when I'm turning up. But yeah, I'll be doing Thursday nights at 5 Vancouver time on Instagram. So I did one last week, and I thought I'm just quite new on Instagram, and I didn't know if anyone would turn up, but I got like tons of people turning up, and I just turned up. So I'm hoping if I schedule it, then it'll just be a regular thing like it is on here. How to be the child's leader. You lead, they will follow. I say that all the time. Leaders inspire children to make good choices. You are not telling them what to do. That's the old-fashioned authority style parent. You explain to them what the choices are, good and bad choices. I used to say to my kids, your life is all up to you. It's all up to your own choices. And then I'd say, if you're good, life is good. If you're bad, life ain't so good. I'll make sure of that because I'm your mom and that's my job. I took that very seriously. So I made sure if they did make a mistake and they were ever rude or they weren't, but anyway, if they were, they knew mom would come in because mom was a leader. So you inspire them to make good choices. You're setting an example for them. You never yell. Everyone yells when they first start with me, but then you never, as a really good leader never yells. And when you're disciplining, you're very calm, slow, and quiet. My son used to say, if my mom ever whispers, run, that's when I'm laying down the law. I would say something like this, didn't like that. I'll tell you what we're going to do. I'm going to get you to help me with the dishwasher later. Do you understand? Okay. And then back to fun again. You deal with bad behavior, but you focus on the good kid. Leaders bring out the best in people, not the worst. You deal with the worst, but you bring out the best. Does that make sense? Leaders bring out the best in people. I'm going to write that one down. That was a good one. Leaders bring out the best in people. Kids included. Think about it. If you're even as an adult, if you look up to someone and they're like a leader, they're like a mentor to you, would you ever be rude to them? Wouldn't you try and want to please them? They make you feel good about yourself. That's what this leadership parenting is all about. You want their self-esteem to soar. You don't go on with the mini therapy sessions discussing all the stuff they've done wrong. That's just garbage. It's mean. I think it's mean. Okay, easy. 7-year-old wasting time when asked to do something like brush teeth or go to bed. Okay, so I would put down, pick one thing a week. I'd say the rule is brush your teeth within 10 minutes of being asked to do so. Okay, we got time now, 10 minutes, I want your teeth brushed. Okay, remember the behavior board, and it starts now. And then don't say a word, just sit back, whistle, just wait. Beep, beep, 10 minutes is up, they haven't brushed their teeth. Okay, you didn't brush your teeth within those 10 minutes, so here's the consequence, okay? If they argue it and say, now, if you brush your teeth now, it'll just end there. But if you don't brush your teeth, we'll do the second consequence, which is 24-hour media blackout. So you're still gonna get their teeth brushed. But anyway, check out the behavior board. It explains how you do that stuff. But you have to put a time limit on it. If you don't put a time limit on it, what's the point? Okay, so Taylor said, instead of go brush your teeth, try it's almost bedtime. What do you have to do before? That can work, but if they're defiant and don't like brushing their teeth, they're going to say nothing. So if there's not a consequence attached, they often won't do it. You're just reminding them for kids who are compliant and are going to do it anyway. It works with those kids. Kids who are not compliant then don't want to do it. It wouldn't work. So what do you have to do before bed? Nothing. See where I'm getting with this? Yeah. Any thoughts or advice for transitions from crib to toddler bed? Not really. I mean, as soon as my kids as soon as they hit the floor, they flipped out of the crib, that was when I dismantled the crib right away, and I just put the mattress on the floor and surrounded it by pillows. And so I still use the crib, and even if you're going to a toddler bed, I would still put the mattress on the floor. So when they do roll on the floor, they won't like it. They'll probably wake up, but they're not going to kill themselves. So yeah, that's what I did with my kids. Take it or leave it. It's not like, it's not like this is what you should do. A lot of stuff is, but that isn't. How to stop bedwetting at night. Do I want to answer that one here? No, I don't want to answer that here because it could be so many reasons why they're bedwetting. Depends on the age. You might want to check out my potty training course. I have a potty. My daughter read that potty training course and she goes, "Oh, I don't remember that. It was a party." And I said, "Oh yeah, I threw a party." That's how I trained. I trained her in 2 days, my son in 1 day. No pull-ups, no night diapers, nothing. So yeah, check that out. Check it out. It explains how you prevent bedwetting too. So check that out. I'm assuming they're young, right? But sometimes they're bedwetting at 16 years old. That's a bladder issue usually, a small bladder usually. That's what I've heard. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. Well, 4-year-old repeating everything you direct them with. So if you say something, they just repeat it back to you. That's fine, as long as they do it. I'd have a consequence if they don't follow through. So yeah, okay, it's time to put your dishes in the dishwasher. It's time to put our dishes in the dishwasher. If they don't go in the dishwasher, okay, that's fine. Then no TV night. I don't repeat myself. I don't nag. I never would do that. I let them dig their own grave. You know what I mean? Like, I never try and prevent them from not doing something or from doing the wrong thing. I like them to walk right into it, and then I know how to deal with it. They learn. My kids knew I was 100. They would never act out. Why would they? Because they knew Mom knew how to take care of business. So if they were going to act out, they knew 100%. I was predictable. They knew I'd take care of business. So why would they act out? It wouldn't make any sense. That's why we had such a fun household, because it was just, I didn't have to discipline. They were just a piece of cake. They just made good choices because they knew Mom was a leader. So why would you act out? It doesn't make any sense. Once you're a leader, you lead, they will follow. And they're happier. Their self-esteem is up. They'll tell you everything. They'll talk to you about everything. You're going to be a safe place to land. They trust you. They look up to you. You're like a mentor to them. That's what leadership's all about. You bring out the best in them. I wrote that down. I'm going to do a video on that. Leaders bring out the best in people, kids included. You don't want obedient little soldiers. That's ridiculous. Why would you want that? If they're obedient little soldiers when they're young, they're going to be rebellious teenagers, guaranteed. Repeating is just like, okay, if you don't do it, then no TV is not really. They just already knew that. So if they just didn't do it and then they went to turn on the TV, I'd say, you didn't put the dishes in the dishwasher. You think you're going to get TV now? See, I probably wouldn't even have warned. My kids knew I wouldn't have said anything. Just would have been no TV. But they already knew me, so yeah, I wouldn't have threatened. They just would do it because they knew later on there'd be something coming down the pike. Oh, you think you're going to watch TV? Ooh, are you kidding me? You didn't put your dishes in the dishwasher after dinner. Even if they ran and did it then, good for you, but no TV tonight. And then they would just laugh, and they would have literally said, sorry, Mom. And then we'd play a board game. Are any of your children neurodivergent? I won't say it, but no. All right, how old are you? Those are the kind of questions I get from young people usually. Just a second here. I get some real snotty comments in here, and it's usually kids. One time I said, sometimes I can tell really obviously. One person said something about, I'll bet your kids hate you or something like that. And I said, are you 15? And it was on YouTube, and she literally said, yeah, I'm 15. How did you know? And I could just tell by the lingo. Okay. Hi, I have a 1.9-year-old boy. Tantrums at home, yes. In public, it hasn't happened. How to react in public. I just did a video, I think 2 days ago. Public tantrums. Look it up. You are going live later than ever. I've been live. It's only 5:30. I did a live at 9:30 once, so 4 hours later. And I do them a lot longer than this sometimes. Well, then why would you ask if you're 45? Why would you ask that neurodivergent question? It doesn't make sense. Okay, it's 8 p.m. Sorry. Here, yeah, I do. It's only 5:30 here, and I'm off and on at 7 or 8 at night. So just depends. Okay, I'm a millennial with 8. I don't know what a millennial is. I don't know any Gen X. No, I don't know what they are. I know I'm a baby boomer. I think I'm the last baby boomer, 1960, but I don't really know what a millennial is. Anyway, I think my kids are millennials. I'm not sure. With ADHD, and I know that stemmed from unavailable parents through childhood trauma. So ADHD is not caused by a childhood trauma as far as I know. It's something that you're born with. Your brain is wired differently as far as doctors have told me. So I don't, and I'm not a doctor, so I don't know. But childhood trauma, I've dealt with a lot of kids who've had a lot of childhood trauma. And some of them had ADHD, some of them didn't. And yeah, I don't know. Okay, once I got your method, I stopped being afraid of teen years. We have a great relationship now. Heidi B, excellent. Okay, teenagers are my favorite age because when you understand a teenager and how you have to shift your parenting to adjust to the teen years, they're a piece of cake. I sailed right through it. There's the odd hiccup along the way, but nothing to write home about. So yeah, you just have to learn how to shift your parenting. I've worked with so many. I specialize in teenagers. I started my business on teen crisis work and abused children. That's how I focused on crisis work when I first started my business. And then I got on the 6 o'clock news one night. I used to be like the parenting expert on the news. And they introduced me as the crisis queen. And I didn't want to do that. I thought, no, I mean, nothing against them at all. But I thought, no, I want to be the prevention queen. I want to prevent all that instead of just trying to fix things. But teenagers are the most misunderstood age because they need to be able to make some mistakes. They need to be able to make mistakes and not be judged for them. Like if my teenagers did something stupid, not anything big, but just something little, I would say this. I'd say, gee, that was stupid. Wait till you hear what I did when I was your age. Like, it's normal. We all, that's how you learn. And we'd laugh at it and go on. I can't tell you, I talk a lot more about that in coaching, but I can't tell you this one story that was just hilarious with my son. He did something and we laughed. It was great. So yeah, allow them to make mistakes just like you did. It's okay. It's important to not be perfect. It's important to learn how to be able to have the freedom to make mistakes. But one thing that I didn't tolerate was disrespect because I treated them with such respect that I got it back. So you gotta, yeah. And you negotiate pretty much everything with teenagers. And you get really good at listening. You listen to understand and show empathy. You do not listen to gather information to lecture with. They're gonna shut you out. They'll tell you everything if you're a good listener. Just listen to understand and show empathy, and they'll tell you everything. You don't always want to hear it, but they'll tell you anyway. Oh, don't get political in here. Like sometimes people get religious and political. It's not in the place. No one's listening. Okay. My 2-year-old hits a lot. I say no and walk away so she gets no attention from it. Is that bad? Yeah, yeah. Does it work? So if it's working, then it's good. I just don't know exactly how you're doing it, but that's sort of what I recommend. Yeah. If you want to check out my course, Toddlers Who Hit and Bite, etc., that's up in the link above. And also in the link above is my free behavior board, all the mini toddler courses. There are 4 of them: bedtime, toddler, tantrums, hitting and biting, potty training, 4 of them. That was hard. Anyway, and then the bigger course is the boot camp one from 3 to 12-year-olds, how to set yourself up as a leader in 5 weeks. And then the next level up is one-on-one coaching with me. It's all done on Zoom, so it doesn't matter where in the world you are. It's usually 1 hour per week. Anyway, what else was I going to say? Yeah, check that out. Tomorrow night, I'll be doing, as usual, I'm always on YouTube, but I don't have much of a following there yet. I'm trying to figure YouTube out. But Instagram, things have really picked up on Instagram, so I'm now doing lives on there now too. So that's scheduled on Instagram. If you follow me there, it's Bratbusters Parenting, just as it is here. And we'll be doing the live tomorrow night at 5 p.m. my time, Pacific time, on Instagram. And then Friday, I'll be back here. I don't know what time. I never know. I never know what time unless it's scheduled in the link above. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. We'll be talking again Friday, unless I see you tomorrow on Instagram or YouTube. Take care. Bye now.